Hello, and welcome back to another episode of Critical Reactions with your host, Bryan. We just got done talking about Polyphia again, and we're going to be moving on to some special selections, which is where one of you tell me exactly what to check out. Yesterday, we looked at Slice the Cake's Castle in the Sky, and today, we're going to be looking at Castle in the Sky Part 2, which Jason suggested, given that we had just done Part 1. So that's what we're going to dive into today. Let's get into it. Yeah. I'm already happy. Golly, this is gorgeous.
I thought I found love, but tethered to the siren song. Even though you were near, I was empty. It must have been so pain to see.
I love this drumming.
I injured my love, singing westward songs until the setting sun. My suffering is so. If nothing else, oh, teardrops falling from moonlit eyes.
Yeah.
They don't mind or terrorize away, in which we turn out our candles lit with one heart beating, one mind leaping.
So very busy.
This is a way that you can't find me now. This is a way in which is
Love that moving piano line under all this. We got those strings really widening it out.
This is a way to build a castle in the sky. My darkened eyes and your stormy skies won't warn a house of disarray. But why? Our love is a furnace that kills itself when just as well the embers not be so.
What is going on with this meter?
This is a way in which is transfixed in your eyes, like beacons they guide my way to a special place, your castle in the sky. And I don't mind, no, and I don't theorize, no, but dreams recall our future selves awake and nowhere. I know I'll see you there tonight, and your castle in the sky.
So there's no resolution on that string line. But we did get resolution on the piano line. Oh. No, no, no! What a fake out. Oh my. Oh, a roller coaster in that last 15 seconds. Oh man. So they entered a sort of free time section with that little piano part there. Sorry. They entered a free time section, and tempo was sort of waning in and out. They would slow down like they're ending the song, and then pick it back up for a little run, and then slow it down again. Dum bum 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 do 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 do, and speed it back up a little bit to bring it back down, and then they gave us this nice cathartic final little rundown and lands on this nice resolution note. And I was like, well, we got a resolution in the piano though. And I thought it was over. And then they're like, nope, four more notes. And this time we're not resolving it. And just come on, man. Come on. Um, which I kind of figured was going to happen based on some of the lyrics I picked up. Um, it seemed to be something about a relationship that didn't work for some reason. I mean, it starts out with once I thought I'd found love. Uh, and then the second line says, oh, how I injured my love. And then there's a lot of stuff in the middle that says, the way's clear. If you want to find me, this is where I'll be. And it even ends with, I know I'll see you there tonight in our castle in the sky. Holds that note out forever. Um, so it's there's obviously some relationship here, or at least some love given towards this other person, and it's either not reciprocated or the other person isn't available to, you know, join them in this relationship for whatever reason. Um, and the singer says, that's fine. We'll get there eventually, but we're not there now. So there's no resolution. It makes sense. I was expecting it, especially with the strings not resolving there at the end, but then they gave me that fake out resolution. Oh man, what a roller coaster. Tons of really cool stuff going on in here, though. Very much like Castle in the Sky Part 1, there is an interesting polyrhythm going on, but this one is simultaneously more interesting and less interesting. Um, at first, I thought we were in sort of a heavy 6/8 instead of the sort of waltzy 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, with emphasis on 1 and 4, giving it these pockets of 3 that kind of sway in because we have an emphasis on one beat and then no emphasis on two beats, and it kind of gives extra weight to the beginning and then this lengthy time of no emphasis, double the length. But here it's more weighty. It's on 1, 3, and 5. So we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. And it's very even. It's distributed even, but it also provides more drive and a little bit more aggression to it rather than sort of the lazy 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. And I felt that for a bit. Once the vocals came in and the band came in and we started to get larger, I don't think I really caught on to the time signature during the piano opening. But that's not unusual. One instrument, it's very difficult to find landmarks in with accents or even phrasing. So it makes sense that I didn't really pick up on it until the band came in full. But the interesting was it was fast. It's like 1, 2, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 1. And I was like, dang, that is a fast pace. And then it registered with me. I was like, wait a second. Castle in the Sky Part 1, I'm pretty sure that was the 6 Against 4 song. So I'm like, all right, can I hear a 4 in here? So I start counting out quarter notes in this. And I get to 4 and it doesn't feel like we're done. And it took me a second to realize we're in 6/4 with a heavy eighth note emphasis. So we have groupings of six going along in the piano line that are six eighth notes that are underneath pockets of six quarter notes. But the six quarter notes I kind of felt more in a three. So we have 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. So in these pockets of this slower three count, we also have these groupings of faster threes or faster sixes underneath it. Um, and I love it because assuming I'm reading this correctly and it's about a relationship that will eventually line up but isn't quite right now, I like how they're both on the same wavelength. It isn't 6 against 4 where we're having more, an irregular amount of notes in the same span as, not an irregular, a different set of notes in the same span. So 6 and 4, you can't really divide them up evenly. But with 3 and 6, 3 is a factor of 6. So we actually get this nice subdivision where it's almost hierarchical. It's just one's moving faster than the other. One's in a different tempo, one's in a different speed than the other, but they're actually lining up rather well. And I think that works a lot better than the 6 against 4, which creates polyrhythmic ideas that have sort of delayed attacks where sometimes you're going to get a hit that would be on an offbeat. In one, like if you're counting in 4, some of the sixes come on offbeats. Whereas in here, everything's always on a downbeat. Or it's evenly on a downbeat and an offbeat. It's not sort of segmented like when we have the 4 against 6. And I think it's really cool to see this story. Jason, I think it was Jason, right? Boom, 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 boom. Jason, yes. Jason had mentioned to me that the first Castle in the Sky was about something love related, relationship related, and I didn't catch that. I didn't hear about it until after I had recorded the episode. But it is interesting. I got to go back and check out the lyrics on the first Castle in the Sky. If it is about people in two different places, maybe a bit less harmonious, it makes more sense to have the 6 against 4 there to symbolize the two people, not just not in sync with each other, but also in different planes, different tempo, or different places. Whereas this 6 against 3 means that they're coming a little closer in line, and it's very possible in a hypothetical Castle in the Sky Part 3, assuming that these two characters find each other and, develop a strong relationship or whatever, that it is told entirely in something like 4/4. I think it would be very interesting to see these characters continue to be characterized in the music by their relationship with the rhythmic elements in the song. So yeah, that caught me off guard. 6/4 is an odd time signature to begin with. 3/4 is a little more common, but I did think it was so cool to hear the 6, and then when I raised it up to see what was going on in the quarter notes, it was 6 again, and I was like, what? um, I do think that I heard some 4 going on at one time in some cymbals, but it was momentary, it was brief, so maybe it was just a specific drum fill that was trying to be a bit more rhythmically offsetting rather than an intentional, what is it called? Polyrhythm going on. So yeah, really cool things going on with the meter, especially tying in thematically between these two songs. As usual, I have no idea if I'm reading into this, if any of it's intentional, but I am seeing some patterns. So I'm curious. This was 06, 16, 2016, 2016. And it looks like it was their last album according to Bandcamp. They had a live at home thing last year. Last year, just under a year ago. I am real intrigued to see if they drop a part 3 on a future album, just to pay attention to the meter and see what's going on with the rhythms. So there's a lot of similarities between this one and Slice the Cake one. No, Castle in the Sky one. Castle in the Sky Part 1. With regarding instrumentation and composition style, song structure as a whole. Actually, not song structure, more of a soundscape. The structure is actually very different. A lot of that is due to the compressed time. This is half of the length. It doesn't really go through three distinct sections. Well, I guess they only went through two distinct sections. We had the high part, then the low part, and then we came back up to the high part. Or I should say wide and sparse would be another way to categorize those. This is pretty much a linear one style idea song that just grows in intensity as the song increases and is bookended by piano solos. We have a piano solo intro, a piano solo outro, but everything in the middle, that core, 4 minutes, I would say, maybe 3:45. That core aspect of the song is one single idea, which makes sense because 3.5 minutes, I'd say, is about the length of each of the individual ideas from Castle in the Sky Part 1. Now, I do think it's interesting. I wish I had the music, or maybe if I could play these a little closer together. Listening to them a day apart means I'm going to forget some stuff. But there are a lot of similarities I'm seeing with this song, the core middle section of this track, and the ending of Castle in the Sky Part 1. I don't know how much of it is just more of a tonal and soundscape thing, or if there's any actual reused lines. I think it would be very cool to hear some reused lines, especially once again, I'm kind of seeing this as a longer drawn out project, possibly a trilogy of songs or maybe more, and seeing leitmotifs popping up, little themes, not necessarily full passages, but even little ornamentations that might be showcased in all of the songs related to this to provide a sort of auditory identity to this series of songs. Um, but yeah, there's just a lot of similarities. This feels like an acoustic reinterpretation, or a full acoustic reinterpretation, because there were acoustic guitars and pianos in that final section of part one as well. But it feels like a full-on acoustic rendition, complete with getting rid of all of the harsh vocals and doing clean vocals only. A acoustic rendition of that final section. And part of that is just going to be the layering of it. We have the piano. We have some strings, maybe. We have the guitars. We have the vocals. We have the drums. And they're all layered so hyper complexly. There is so much attention to detail, just like I mentioned yesterday with Castle of the Sky Part 1, to what instrument is using what space. And that's, space as in sheet music, if they're resting or if they're playing on specific beats. Also, space in range. Are they playing higher? Are they playing lower? And space in the mix. Are they in the foreground or the background? Are they panned left? Are they panned right? And there's so much attention to detail of where instruments are at all times, and if there is room for another instrument to be in a space. So if we have, two instruments in a higher range, are they panned? Do we have room to put a third instrument in that range? The vocalist is about to come up and just belt out a note. Is there space for that, or is it going to sound muddy because we have guitars and pianos doing things up in that range as well? What about other instruments that are center panned with the vocals? There's so much attention, so that when we have all of these elements coming together to create this extremely dense and lush sound, it doesn't become muddy, which is the opposite intended effect, I would say, of stuff like this. All of these elements are brought together to create a specific sound that is as dense as something like a post-rock or wall of sound kind of vibe, but not that muddy, cohesive, singular identity. Every instrument needs to be heard on its own. It has more of a classical orchestral vibe to it, with the attention to detail of instrumental spacing, passage spacing, and again, like I said, modern production ideas of making sure that every instrument houses a different role and space in the sound itself. And a lot of this is the same praise I gave them yesterday on Castle in the Sky Part 1. It is just done at such a level, such an expert level. And I think I'm just going to leave it at that. If you want to hear me rant and not rant, if you want to hear me rave about the engineering for Slice the Cake, go ahead and check out yesterday's video. I'm going to try to keep this one a bit short since we're already running up to 21 minutes here. Yeah, but I just want to put some praise out for whoever engineered this, mixed it, mastered. Uh, yeah, just as usual. And then, of course, the composers for ensuring the music itself is fairly spaced out with every instrument, not being able to play without stepping on other players' other sections' toes. It's just it's just so expertly done on every level, as far as the layering goes and making sure that it sounds clean despite all the moving parts. It is an intricately work. It's clockwork. I think that's what I said yesterday. It is clockwork. There's so many tiny pieces in here and so many little tweaks to ensure that it comes off sounding as clean and precise as it does, despite all of the moving parts. So yeah, let's move on from the production. The I think the big difference here for me is the gradual swelling of atmosphere and the emotion that it houses. We start off with the piano solo, and then we slowly bring in. No, then we hit a point where we bring in the band, and then we slowly add in more elements. I'm not sure if they're more instruments. I'm not sure if some instruments are changing uh, phrases. I'm not sure if we're adding elements, but the song gets larger. And I think some of that is new instruments coming in. I'm pretty sure there's some sort of string synthesizer thing going on, some virtual strings appearing in the second half of the track. But it gets louder, it gets wider, it gets more dense, and the vocals, I think, are carrying a lot of this as well, as there is more passion and power behind the words. And I love how the song takes these elements of sort of the slow burn, but does it on a more compressed scale. We're not starting with one layer and getting up to 12. We're starting with like 6 and getting up to 9 maybe. It's not a huge, drastic layering element where we're just seeing the sandwich get stacked. We're starting with an already stacked sandwich and subtly sneaking in extra layers. We're slowly making it a better sandwich without anyone knowing. And, and the vocals, I love how they're able to command each section because it isn't a perfect gradual growth. There is a moment in the middle. I think it's the part where he starts with "This is the way" and he repeats that 4 times. And it sort of moves into a more subtle, humble kind of vibe before going towards that final outro, the big bombastic section that brings us into that held high note to finish the song off. The vocals do so much to command the emotion that they want to convey for this section, while the music does a bit less of the heavy lifting here and just provides more of the atmosphere for the vocals to just really shine. And once again, it's composed so well. They know when instruments should take the spotlight and they know when they should just release control and let the vocalist take over because they have enough faith in the vocalist to carry the listener between all of these sections and emotions. It's done so well that I don't think many people would notice all the subtleties. It's one of those songs that it's the perfect magic trick where the sleight of hand is done so well you don't even notice it. It's that level of production, I'd say, and composition. You can really just close your eyes and fall into this and not even notice the intricacies, but still get taken on, taken on the ride, the roller coaster here of emotions. And they do it so well. Um, and, and of course, the ending. I think I've already spoken enough about that. I do like the foreshadowing, how the strings don't resolve their chord progression, and then we get the fake out in the piano. It is torturous. I hated every moment of it, but I have to give them props for it. They set it up, and then it looked like they were going to subvert themselves, and then they subverted my expectations by not subverting themselves with a fake out half coda ending. So, I mean, just congratulations, Slice the Cake. Golly, that ending. So, yeah, I greatly enjoyed this. I'm so glad Jason got this in as a last second request. Just happened to see that Castle in the Sky was in the special selection and dropped this request to get part two in there as well. I'm glad I had this extension to the Castle in the Sky series or song, and like I said, I don't know what Slice the Cake has in store, but I would love to see a continuation of this. Not because I'm too invested in the story, but I love the themes and compositional ideas that they have going on in this song. And I would love to see them continue to evolve on this core concept. I could actually talk a lot also about Metallica's Unforgiven and Unforgiven 2, but not Unforgiven 3. Interestingly, I'm going to get on a small tangent here. Interestingly, The Day That Never Comes, I think, was the single off of Death Magnetic, or maybe? Anyways, I think it's the Day That Never Comes. Actually uses more of the musical motifs and chordal structures from the Unforgiven series than Unforgiven 3 does, and I tend to call that Unforgiven 3 because musically it matches a lot closer. Um, but otherwise, I do really enjoy some of the stuff they have going on in that series as well, and I just love this as a concept. Not so much about telling a story over several songs. I think that's something that we as humans have done very well at, using language to create stories and multiple structures, uh, even ignoring all of the stuff throughout time of poets and story writers over the centuries, the millennia. Um, Even just looking at modern times, we're very good at writing trilogies. Not just in young adult fiction or even adult fiction, but just Hollywood as a whole loves their trilogies. So, um, like I said, I'm not too invested in the story itself. We're pretty good at writing good stories as a race, but I'm interested in the musical themes and the reuse of ideas and the storytelling and the music itself. I think Slice the Cake is doing a great job starting this idea here, and I'd love to see them evolve it more, especially as they evolve as musicians and composers. I don't know when. So the album that Castle in the Sky came out on was 2012, and the album that Castle in the Sky 2 came out on was 2016. So 2020 should have given us Castle in the Sky Part 3. I'm rioting. Oh man, but it was a rough year. I'll give him that. I am looking forward to a Castle in the Sky Part 3 though. Slice the cake if you're watching. If somehow you've put your time in and watched a 30-minute video of some guy rambling about your song. Yes, I would love a Castle in the Sky Part 3 that continues to explore these themes musically. All right, those are my thoughts though. I greatly enjoyed this. Slice the Cake is going on the top of my I need to listen list. I already put other slices in my album folder that I need to listen to, so I'm set there. If I dig that, I'll probably jump into more stuff. Odyssey to the West, Odyssey to the Gallows. Wait a second. Wait a second. They have albums that continue. Oh, those are songs. Wait a second. Oh, Odyssey. They have a Westward Bound. What? They have a lot of part one and part twos. I think I'm going to love this band. I'm looking at this Odyssey to the West. There's a two-part Exile song, a three-part Stone and Silver song, which I think we checked out Stone and Silver part one previously. There's a two-part Westward Bound. There's part two for Castle in the Sky. Four-part Ash and Rust series. Oh, yeah. If they're writing between these two Castle in the Sky songs is anywhere near indicative of their multi-song story writing in their musical department, yep. I got no words. Hit me up in the comments. Let me know what's up with Castle in the Sky Part 2, if you enjoyed it or not. Um, Anything that you noticed that maybe I didn't. Blah, 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 blah. All the usual comment stuff. Description box. Do I have to do the sign off? I want to go listen to Slice the Cake. Description box, link tree, stuff in there, Twitter, Patreon, Discord, email me, like, subscribe, and ring the bell. I'll be back tomorrow, 5 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, 9 p.m. UTC, as usual. Also, there's another. Wait, no. I'm so confused. Okay, yeah, no, this is. Alright, I'll be back tomorrow. I already said that. We're going to do another retrospective. We'll do a special selection. Yeah. Until next time, remember to be critical but not cynical of the music you listen to. Have a fantastic morning, afternoon, or evening. Don't worry about looking for me online. I'm probably listening to Slice the Cake. See ya!